Frankenstein, released in 1931 and was Universal Studios' big screen adaptation of Mary Shelley's novel of the same name, published in 1818. Directed by James Whale and written by Garrett Ford and Francis Edward Farrago, the screenplay was adapted from an unproduced version of Peggy Webling's stage play written by John L. Balderston for American audiences. Although Bela Lugosi, who famously portrayed Dracula for Universal a few years prior, was originally slated to portray Dr. Frankenstein, eventually Colin Clive was chosen for the titular role. Although some were skeptical about Clive's ability to play the part before the film's released, he was celebrated for his portrayal of the Mad Doctor once the film made it to screens in the December of 1931 to enormous success. Two endings were shot for the film, one in which Frankenstein dies and one where he lives. The studio believed that the audience would sympathize with the Doctor and be disappointed if he died at the end of the movie, so the ending in which Frankenstein lives was chosen in the closing moments of production. Perhaps predictably, the film wasn't without controversy. The movie was considered an exploitation film, using shock value to sell tickets by multiple publications, including Variety and the New York Times.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
When this dead hand moves, the monster created by a man they called Mad is turned loose to strike terror into the hearts of men. To shock women into uncontrolled hysteria.
Elizabeth!
To prey upon the innocence of children. This is the story you've heard about, talked about. The spine-tingling, blood-chilling story that stuns your emotions. Frankenstein.
Don't touch that!
No clue where they could have gotten that idea. This may have been a little too effective, as people in some states tried to censor or just ban the film. In Kansas, a censorship board cut the film's finale to ribbons, claiming the film shows cruelty and tends to debase morals. Shocking no one, this ruined the film for viewers, but some did try to avoid the debate. A refund gag was added to the film in the last minute, warning viewers about the horrors they were going to see and telling the audience members they could get a refund with a knowing wink. Kansas City's Main Street Theater even withdrew offers of reduced children's pricing, but the film proved to be too popular and was expected to draw in $24,000 in Kansas City that week regardless. Despite some people's concerns, the movie did well across the country, pulling in $20,000 in its second week in Detroit, getting $67,000 after 2 weeks in Boston, and a whopping $53,000 after only 1 week in New York City. The film was a box office smash hit, beating out Universal's previous record holder, Dracula, by a wide margin. Dracula may have been the first, but the success of Frankenstein cemented Universal Studios as the go-to studio for horror on the big screen. In fact, the film may have been the unintentional gateway that created the horror genre as we know it today. Prior to Frankenstein, most film producers were hesitant to invest in the horror genre. Thanks to the success of Frankenstein and Dracula, Universal began investing heavily in horror and soon became synonymous with the genre. Even today, Universal is still known for its classic movie monsters. Their film library soon ballooned from Dracula and Frankenstein and included The Mummy in 1932, The Invisible Man in 1933, and Werewolf of London in 1935, amongst others. It was so successful that it even inspired Universal Studios to create a series of sequels. Bride of Frankenstein, Son of Frankenstein, The Ghost of Frankenstein, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, House of Frankenstein, and Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Yes, all of those are real. The popularity of the first Frankenstein movie can be felt even today, as Universal recently attempted to bring back one of its classic monsters with 2019's The Mummy Returns. Beyond its own sequels and the identity of Universal, the effects of Frankenstein are still being felt almost a century later. Its open ending and use of grotesque imagery and symbolism are still hallmarks of the horror genre to this day.